Question 14b asks students to explain how the principles of force can be applied to a sport to enhance performance. Some of the key parts of this question was worth 5 marks. Some of the key parts was explain, so being the key term, the principles of force, and how they can be applied to a sport to enhance performance. So very similar to the previous question. If we go and have a look at our our syllabus, what we'll notice is when we talk about force, students could have spoke about any of these here. How the body applies force, how the body absorbs force, and applying force to an object. In particular, looking at how the body applies a force, being Newton's 3 laws. So for this question here, they could have spoke about Newton's 3 laws, or they could have mentioned how the body absorbs force. If we go and have a look at our sample answer here, which was a very good answer, some things that I like straight away about this response is that he's obviously concentrated on Newton's 3 laws in his response. He's got the 3 laws written in, first law, second law, third law, and a little bit of an explanation here for himself to keep his mind on task to know what it's about. He's written Newton's 3 laws, so it keeps fresh in his mind. He's also written examples and to keep himself thinking about it. He's circled sport and written soccer, underlined enhanced performance. So again, like the previous question, let's start to use some of the words from this question in our answer. In order for students to go well in this question, again, for 5 marks, I couldn't ask them to talk about all of the area of the dot point, but what I did look at was if they've mentioned at least 2 of the areas of Newton's 3 laws of how it can be applied, so applying a force or absorbing a force plus one of the laws. At least there was 2 different areas. Then they would be able to maybe achieve 4 marks provided they've looked at how it also enhances performance. So for this question here, the student's gone through, it says, the principle of force are derived from Newton's 3 laws of motion. Bang, straight away into the parts of the area we need, and it's highlighted. The first law describes that an object will remain in motion or remain stationary unless acted upon by an external force. So he's got a definitely has an understanding of what the law is about. This can be shown through soccer. There's his applying to a sport. The ball will remain stationary on the ground unless an external force, such as a kick, is applied to this. Then, the key part of this answer is, this enhances performance as it is acknowledged that an object will not move unless force is applied. So he's come back to show how it's been applied, but also to enhance performance. The second law describes that the motion of an object is directly proportionate to the force and direction being applied. This can be illustrated in soccer again. When one kicks a ball, the distance the ball will travel depends on the amount of force and the direction. This is why a cross covers a larger distance as opposed to a pass which travels a smaller distance. This law can be expressed mathematically where force is equal to mass times acceleration. The force is equal to the mass times the acceleration. This again improves the distance of a cross and a pass. Lastly, the third law describes that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So the underlining, the explanation, the understanding of the 3 laws. The active forces which are exerted are opposed by a reactive force which is equal. This again can be shown through soccer when a player is running. They exert an active force on the ground, and the ground applies a reactive force allowing the player to sprint up or run. So all 3 have been shown. Again, so a very good answer, well set out, well highlighted and constructed, covering all the different aspects of the question here that it was asked. Some of the concerns that we had for this question was, as I mentioned before, students need to include at least 2 of Newton's laws or 1 of Newton's laws and how the body absorbs force. I know some students did talk about absorbing force, which was fine, but there had to be 2 different things in there. Students were unable to include a law. A lot of students just went through and spoke about force and didn't talk at all about Newton's laws. The underlining was poor and the setting out, again, was quite poor. The key part of the question looked at how it enhances performance, and students need to show how it enhances performance to get the actual top area of the marks. A number of students wrote about velocity, speed, displacement, acceleration, all these things that obviously we've learned about through the biomechanics unit, but are not specific. If we go back to our syllabus, there's force, how the body applies force, how the body absorbs force, and applying force to an object. So they need to be thinking about what sort of things they're putting in their answer, not just anything they can think about. And the other concern for me was in this response was that a lot of students were writing about fluid mechanics. And if we look here, that's the previous dot point, fluid mechanics. So that had no correlation or no involvement in this answer. So that was question 14B. Students, probably the average for this would have been about a 2 or 3 for most students.